video, I would like to describe about the historical background of a Psalm 91 as to what is Psalm 91, who has written it, and when it would have been written. So let's see what it is Psalm 91 is all about. Since Psalm 91 is included in the book of Psalm, it's a general presumption of a public that it has been written by King David. Actually, it is not written by King David. It is presumed to be written or believed to be written during the period of Moses, either by a Moses or by the Israel people when they got relieved or when they got delivered from the hands of Egyptian. So during this period, because the word of Psalm 91 gives us that conclusion that this poem has been written during that period only. So I will directly go to verse 5 of Psalm 91, which says, "You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday." Because during that period, the Israel, there were so many plagues were there, so many miracle has happened, and various kind of miracles has been performed by the God, and Moses has been used mightily to deliver the Israel. So Israel has saw something which no one in this world has seen thereafter. So they have seen the mighty act of God. They have witnessed that mighty act of God. And they are speaking about pestilence, they are speaking about arrows, they are speaking about plague, because this has happened during that period only. So this is one verse where we can conclude, yes, would have been written during that period. Now let's see the second, next verse, which is verse 7 of Psalm 91. It says, "1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand." Because when Israel were leaving the Egyptian kingdom, after some extent, Pharaoh has started chasing them. Pharaoh was behind them because he don't wanted to leave them out of the Egypt to praise the Lord. So what has happened? Israel was traveling from Egyptian and they wanted to get out of the Egypt, but when they were come, there was a Red Sea, and it was under the mighty act of God, the Red Sea got divided. And when this Red Sea got divided, it's not only got divided, even the land were dry, so they were able to travel through the Red Sea. It's the first time in a history where the sea got divided and the land was, people were able to see a land of the sea, because the depth of a sea no one can imagine. So we generally, when we watch a movie, we believe that this Red Sea just got divided and there was a land and they just were walking in a plain road. It is not so, because the depth of a sea is different. It is not a land and it is not under a certain feet. So one has to imagine that how that Red Sea would have been. And when the sea divided, the water, how that water would have got divided, and how extensively the pressure of the water and the air and the wind would have been there. And during that period, the Israel were not alone, or all were not a mighty people, or all were not a strong people. There were a woman who were pregnant. There were small children who would be very small to walk. There would have been senior citizens who were not able to walk. There would have been a handicap and a sick people. There were animals also along with them. 25 lakh people were there. And to cross a Red Sea of 25 lakh people is not easy. It really required a very mighty act of God. And when they crossed the sea, the entire Pharaoh kingdom, mostly the mighty man of the Pharaoh kingdom, like commanders, soldiers, and commander-in-chief, all the people got drowned in that sea, because by the time when these 25 lakh people came, this other mighty people went inside the sea, and the sea water has took over them. And all the chariots, commander-in-chief have died on it. So at one part, they have been protected, and other part they have been defended also. One part they have came out of the water, they crossed the Red Sea. Other part they have seen a death, a mighty death, because the getting so many people to death at one point of time or at the same time is not easy, and they were a mighty kingdom. And it is not that there was a war or someone has came and killed. No, it was a promise given to Israel to protect them, and they came out, and these Egyptian kingdom got killed for their wickedness. So this is one portion. That's why this verse is recorded, that even if 1,000 at your side and 10,000 at your right hand side uh, falls, nothing will come near you. Now let's see thereafter again a next verse where it is regarding the angels, because I would like to tell you how the God commands his angels at verse 11. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Let's understand one thing more about when they were crossing this Red Sea. Definitely there was a sick patient. Definitely there would have been a handicapped people. Definitely there would have been a senior citizen who would be not able to walk. Then there would have been a pregnant woman who will not be able to walk again. There would have been a small children who's unable to walk. But so many people have crossed the Red Sea. It's itself a miraculous thing. Whether they had a power, because Israel were not people who were having a rich food or a nutritious food. They were not having much food. In fact, they were put into a forced labor. They have been treated very brutally. They have not been provided food in time. So they were weak. Their bodies were weak. They were not very civilized. They never had a weapon to fight against the Pharaoh kingdom, because since they being a slave, they were been only provided with the basic food to survive and to do their work as a forced labor. But at this juncture, God says that he commands a bands of angels. It's not one angel. I can say that so many angels would have been there, because the water has to be divided, the sea has to be divided, the water has to be under control, the land has to be dry, the depth of a land has to be risen, it has to be made into a straight land to walk for the people, and every person to walk across the sea is not easy. It's not a 1 or 2 kilometer distance it would have been. And so many aspects are there, but still they were able to cross the Red Sea. So it is presumed and it is believed, it can be presumed, it's written in during the time of Moses, and it is believed that there were bands of angels who were doing the God's work. Though the act of a God is recorded in the book of Exodus, but the song regarding this act of the God has been recorded in Psalm 91. And I hope that this video would have been very informative regarding the historical background of Psalm 91.